All right, everybody. Next thing to do is we're going to find out how to register collisions. Pretty much every game needs to have some kind of collision detection, so we know if you are, collecting the power pellets, or if you are running into a ghost, or something has occurred inside of the game where two things have interacted. We're going to be using circles to do our collision. It's actually not the most efficient way, and a lot of games use rectangles instead, but the math is a little bit more intuitive, so we're going to start there. And I have a little example sketch here to try to explain the math behind it. As a human being, you could look at these two circles and you can clearly see with your eyes they are not colliding. But a computer does not have eyes, so it's not able to just look at this. All it always does is math. So we got to figure out some math to turn the question, are these circles colliding, into some kind of formula. And you can see I've drawn the radiuses on our circles, and as they move around, they're always pointing to each other. So this is part of the math. Our circles and their sizes are going to matter. The bigger the circle, the more likely they are to be colliding with each other. The other thing you'll notice that we're registering here at the bottom of the screen, you can see we're tracking the distance between the two circles, and that's the other number that the math will be needed. And if I hold down the space, you can see that distance is being illustrated with that blue line. So just take a look at this. If I bring our circles together so they're just touching, just on the edge there, you can see that the distance between the two circles is basically just the sum of these two radiuses, or radii. And that's really the formula. If you are farther away and they're not colliding, then notice that the distance between the circles is greater than these two radiuses put together. And you can see the numbers down here. So you can see the radiuses are 100 each, so the sum is 200. And we can see the distance is 300. And this is the math that a computer can use to determine if these things are colliding. You can see as we get closer, as the distance eventually becomes 200 or less than 200, then clearly these two circles are colliding. And it doesn't matter where they are on our screen, that statement is always true if they are colliding. So we're going to build that in as an if statement. We're going to compare to see the distance between things and the sum of the radii in order to determine if they're colliding. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into our program we were writing in the last video. We have our little ball bouncing around inside of our screen, and we have these little characters that are walking around. And I'd like to make it so that maybe player one can collide with this ball and catch it. We'll just make it stop if we have that collision. So let's go and take a look at what that math would look like in code. So if we go down to the draw function, I'm just going to put it at the end of the draw function, but it's getting pretty crowded in here. We might consider later cleaning it up. So it's just going to be if statement. And remember, the math is there is a collision if the distance between the two circles is less than the sum of their radii. So that looks like this. We can find the distance between two things with the dist function. And we just have to give it the coordinates. So one of the things is going to be our player one. So I'll put P1x and P1y. And the other thing is the ball. So we'll put ball x and ball y. So that will calculate the distance between those two things. And then we can check and see if that distance is less than the sum of their radiuses. I'll say less than or equal to because I want them just when they touch to register that collision. So what's the radiuses? Well, I guess it's P1d divided by 2 because d is a diameter plus ball d divided by 2. Don't forget the divided by 2. You'll notice right away if you forget, because the collisions will happen further out because you're kind of telling it has a bigger radius than it actually does. So what should happen here? Basically, this is where the consequence happens. This if statement will detect the collision, but what you want to happen when that collision occurs is going to be inside the if statement. So like I said, we're going to just do something simple. We'll make the ball stop. So I'll just say Vx equals 0, and I'll make Vy equal to 0 in the same line of code. So we'll just set their velocity to 0. So does it work? I don't know. Let's go see. So here comes the ball. I'll get the player 1 to move into position and right on the edge. See, when it just collided with it, the ball stopped. And it's not going to start again because there's no code to do that, but it seems like it works pretty nicely. Now, if this was like a dodgeball game or something, like maybe this would be all you need to do. Maybe instead of stopping the ball, your player would lose 1 life, that kind of thing. But if you wanted to do something more sophisticated with the ball, like say, let's bounce it, let's do project it away from us, that'll take a little bit more code. So in our next video, we'll take a look and see how would we make it bounce kind of realistically off of our circle and be able to direct it, like if we wanted to make some kind of sports game. All right, thanks everybody.